This is Balanand Penny regarding security design and architecture paper, and we are looking at various aspects of security. One of the aspect of security is uh, the design aspects. Let's look at the overview: security design patterns, architecture centric, enterprise focus, technology agnostic, collaboration between security, enterprise technology, and development. Here we are looking at the various design and architecture aspects for login. Majority of the threads that are being there has been for the login screen, and look at the overall strategy. Most of the development activity which happens focuses on the requirement gathering, the drill down into technical issues and refinement of various requirements and construct building and testing system, and then they go live. Let's look at the architectural role. As an architect, software architect role is a design phase. He provides the leadership between the stakeholders and also between the business units. He focuses on the design process, concerns with what has been analyzed and designed. Let's look at the pattern format. The specific way to capture is the requirements. Now, from the design perspective, he needs to capture the requirements. He needs to define both text documents and design formats, which drives the development process. Here we can see on the left side is the customer, on the right side is the transaction processing system. The login, and you have check balance and transfer monies for the bank. So customer tries to log into the bank, look at his balance, and he transfers his money, and you see a transfer processing system runs in the background where the person is a customer in the bank who tries to transfer the money over the web. I have bought this thread because recently the Capital One and other banks have been hacked. So this is the one of the major aspects of aspect-oriented programming which can help to protect the hacking. Use case attributes, the goal and the context, on what are the boundaries, what are the preconditions, and we look at the end status, success or fail, what is the actor or roles, and also actions. Now, the attacker view of bank website, this is, so you can look on the left side, there's a customer, there's a login, and he checks the balance, and then finally he transfers the money. But the attacker also logs in. He, through the login page, same login page the customer has come in, and look at the subvert login. It's a login that to steal the money in the bank, and he goes through the same process, but he comes through a subvert logging to hack man in the middle to steal the money through TPS application. The next one is goal. What is the design phase? The goal of this phase was to include the objects, the component design, the prototyping, the design aspects, the various stakeholders, the players, and the sequencing diagram, and finally logging and security exception. Threat modeling. Threat modeling is a process where we simulate various conditions where you can see the likelihood of threat, and then we go through a mitigation pattern of mitigation management and the containment. Finally, each pattern describes an issue which occurs over and over again so that it is a repeatable process. A person or a hacker had come in and also can log in, but at the same time, the hacker is able to hack the login credentials and able to log in through the weakness in the SLDC process of the application. Now, the solution that is of issue is such a way that it is repeatable without having to do it the same way in twice. The design pattern have to be unique. It should be able to be easily implementable. The design pattern comes in three different processes. One is called creational, structural, and behavioral. Basic pattern template and problem construct solution, prevention, detection, and response. So first we saw the creational pattern, then we saw the structural pattern, and third, the attacker and the user is a behavioral pattern. These are called the basic pattern templates, where we found the problem context to solution and prevention, detection, and response. Input validation pattern, where with the logging, the distributed application are built to be the client dependent. So we want to make sure that it is independent of the client. But what is the problem is that we assume with minimum assumptions. That's what creates the malicious input, and the malicious can be used to gain the unauthorized access to the system process and resources. If you look at this, we do not, what is the input validated pattern? We don't trust the input, so we have to go through a validation process. There are certain validation process that has been developed over the period of years, which have been developed as a two-factor authentication, or where we validate the username and password before we authenticate the user. Then finally, aspect-oriented programming, basic AOP, OOP, collaborative, ability to address the cross-cutting edges, component relationships. And the last one is the tools like Aspect-J, Hyper-J, Aspect-Rex. These are the part of the IBM tools, and the improvements can be made with AOP, OOP collaboration, object-oriented programming, and OOP. These are the programming language with the ability to ab- collaborate and able to some oriented aspect-oriented programming, AOP, which will help in basically, which called the tool supports like Aspect-J, Hyper-J tools, which will help. It's not like a Java programming, but it's an overall tool for such things. Thank you.